I'm not sure. I want you to put this on.
Do you want me to turn camera?
I don't know. This is. I mean, I know it's real, but it's. Um.
Hey everybody, this is Klaus from Plant Based News, and I'm honoured to be with Jeff Morgan. Hey Jeff.
Hey, what's going on, Klaus? How you doing?
Yeah, so good to finally speak to you, brother. We kind of do a similar job on our channels, both like health related. We both interview quite a lot of plant-based doctors. Do you want to just introduce your channel to people that maybe might not be familiar?
Yeah, sure thing. The channel's called Guilt Free TV. It's a plant-based fitness and lifestyle channel that basically has everything you can really need: plant-based doctor interviews, great vegan and plant-based recipes, and some fitness tips and so forth. So it's a great channel to go check out.
I mean, the reason I wanted to talk to you is just because we've both interviewed a lot of these hard-hitting kind of celebrity doctors. I don't want to call them celebrities, but a lot of people look up to them. I've interviewed McDougall, Clapper, Greger, Pam Popper, Alan Goldhammer, people like that. I know you've interviewed Dr. Greger. Who else have you interviewed?
Yeah, Dr. Greger, T. Colin Campbell, Caldwell Esselstyn, Garth Davis, and Dr. McDougall. So yeah, it's been a great pleasure to speak with those guys, and a couple of them multiple times.
Yeah, definitely. I guess I just wanted to bounce some ideas around because most people aren't as fortunate as me or you. You know, they haven't been able to speak to these amazing plant-based physicians, and I just want to know, like, from the conversations that you've had with them, what's been like the take-home. I'd say, having spoken to them all, like, the main message has been, you know, eat more whole plant foods. But let me know what you think.
Yeah, they all recommend a plant-based diet based on whole foods. And I think they all tend to agree to remove certain items from the diet because it's not only animal products that are harmful, you know, things like highly refined and extracted, oils and sugars and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. They do tend to agree and have the same message. In terms of the differences in their respective approaches, don't really have many. I mean, Garth Davis, Dr. Davis is a plant-based doctor from Texas, and he kind of says like processed sugar isn't as bad as the mainstream tries to make out, and he kind of downplays the dangers of processed sugar, which is kind of slightly different from the other plant-based doctors. But
I think McDougall echoes that a little bit because he likes to say, you know, if you have some kids or if you add a little sugar to something to sweeten it up just to help the medicine go down, you know what I mean? You know, if you got some greens and things that you don't necessarily love eating on a regular basis and you sweeten them up every once in a while, then that's okay.
Sugar is not the villain that it's made out to be. That's right. You know, people attribute all kinds of atrocities all the way to cancer to sugar. I don't believe that's the case. I believe that sugar used in reasonable amounts, and what I'm talking about is maybe a little bit of sprinkle on your oatmeal in the morning for breakfast, maybe a little bit in dessert, and only have occasional desserts. That's perfectly fine. Now, what does adding sugar to the diet do that's really important? It makes it tremendously enjoyable. The tip of your tongue tastes with pleasure. Simple sugars. You put a little sugar with the food, you're more likely to eat it. What I want you to put sugar with is starches, like that oatmeal. You're more likely to eat your oatmeal for breakfast that has a little bit of brown sugar on it. More likely to eat the pancakes with a little bit of syrup on it. I want you to eat starch, and I'm willing to sacrifice to incur a little bit of risk by recommending you add a little bit of simple sugar so that you will switch to a healthy starch-based diet. A little bit of sugar in your marinara sauce may make that spaghetti go down a lot bit easier.
And I think I agree with that because the body can handle, you know, things in small amounts that are pro-inflammatory. But I think most of the doctors would agree that highly refined, things, I wouldn't call them foods, but sugars and oils are pretty pro-inflammatory and unhealthy.
Yeah, definitely. I think with Dr. McDougall and Dr. Davis, people like that, you know, they've been bombarded and been literally fighting against for decades this mainstream message of, you know, animal products, high-fat foods is really, really good for human health. And as a result, they, I think, have maybe a little bit gone too far the other way, but for a good reason, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think I understand where they're coming from because, like you said, you know, decades of fighting against a system, and they want to do everything they can to make people feel comfortable about their switch to a new plant-based diet and a new lifestyle. So it's hard for people to make those kinds of changes, those lifestyle changes, without having some sort of comfort in that they don't have to give up everything that they used to eat.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one other difference is kind of the terminology point, I guess you call it nomenclature, as to how they refer to their optimal diet. Most of them actually like using the phrase whole food plant-based, but I think Dr. McDougall doesn't really prefer that, and I think he refers to his diet as like starch-based.
I have to say that whole food plant-based still doesn't give me the direction I want, and that's why I'm so adamant. You may say obnoxious, but I'm so focused on getting people to use the word starch. The word starch was eliminated from our word usage in 1977 by the food industry. Your grandma used to talk about having various starches for lunch and dinner. And then in 1977, when they had the big debates for the dietary goals of the US, they decided to change it to complex carbohydrate. What in the hell is a complex carbohydrate? I wouldn't even know where to buy one or find one or how to eat one, but I sure know how to eat starches. So if you don't have that word back in your family's vocabulary, you can't, as far as I'm concerned, you don't know what to eat. Whole food, plant-based. Is that kale? Is that cabbage? I mean, what is it? It's just not descriptive enough for me. I know this is the wrong place to bring up that argument, but you gave me the chance.
Yeah, he definitely made it clear that starch is more relatable to people. When people hear the word starch, foods like potatoes and pasta and corn and things show up in their minds. So they have a better idea of what to go towards. It doesn't take a lot of digging to understand what a whole food diet is. But, I think from his point of view, and I think he's been one of the people in the trenches the longest and the most. Not to say that Esselstyn and Colin Campbell haven't been, because they have been, maybe even for more years, but it seems like McDougall's been battling it out quite a bit and wanted to get that point across, that he wants to make things a lot more clear for people. It's this and not this, and just do this. He's pretty straightforward like that.
Yeah, I mean, they all fundamentally have the same approach. They all want people to eat more plants. Let's just go through the other things that they agree on, like soy, for example. They all agree that soy, to some extent, is a health food.
Every one of them, hands down, has promoted it as a health product, as a health food. And I actually tend to agree with that. I think in its whole food form and its mildly processed form, such as tofu and tempeh, that it's a health product. And one of the clips that I have, and maybe we can show that clip that where Dr. Greger says, yes, soy is a health food. 14 to 20 servings a day are not recommended for optimal health.
So 14 to 20 servings of soy food a day is not a good idea. But at reasonable doses, even higher than the 1 or 2 servings a day you see in populations like Japanese, they do not have feminizing effects. So let me see, 20 servings. So that's like 5, if you ate 5 liters, so over a gallon of soy milk a day, for example,
Wow.
That could have feminizing effects. So it's the dose that makes the poison.
Yeah.
But at typical doses, no feminizing effects, and actually beneficial effects like reducing risk of prostate cancer, etc.
Wonderful.
Dr. Greger's kind of funny. He'll say that, 14 to 20 servings of soy a day may not be recommended, but I'm sure there's some more things that you have witnessed that the doctors tend to agree on.
Yeah, just the basic stuff, really. Like the fact they all agree that dairy is really, really bad for human health. And I personally find it really easy to explain that to people. Number one, no other species consumes milk from another species. It makes no sense to consume dairy milk. And I think you've gone into detail about why exactly dairy is really bad for human health.
Yeah, I like to get a lot of detail, mainly because it contains a lot of growth hormone, an incredible amount of growth hormone, and an amount of protein that is a little bit too excessive especially for small children. Plus, we have an enzyme that helps to digest lactose that is basically turned off after a certain period of time after infancy. And that's one of the reasons why most people are lactose intolerant. And so, milk is a bovine growth hormone, so fluid. So, feeding that to our kids, and they're growing all kinds of stuff. I mean, you got height growing and weight growing and things on the face growing. And, girls will reach puberty quicker. And so they definitely recommend that it is not suitable. Cow's milk is not suitable for humans ever. And, babies are weaned at a certain time, after, 12 months or so, 6 to 12 months.
The purpose of cow's milk is to turn a 65-pound calf into a 700-pound cow as rapidly as possible. And cow's milk is baby calf growth fluid. That's what the stuff is. Everything in that white liquid, the hormones, the lipids, the sodium, the protein, the growth factors, IGF-1, everything is in there to blow that calf up into a great big cow, or it wouldn't be there.
Yeah, it's funny, dairy, because we interviewed Dr. Milton Mills recently at London Veg Fest.
Yeah.
And he gave a brilliant 2-minute clip about, the dangers of dairy. We stuck it on Facebook, and I think it got to like 1.5 million views.
Mm-hmm.
It just happened that the week after that video went viral, he was in London again. And so I had to meet up with him again and interview him again. And just really, really memorable interview, man. Like Milton Mills, who's so relatable, so articulate.
Yeah. I
started asking him, like, what motivates him, why he's doing this and stuff like that. And he got really, really emotional, and he started crying. I don't know if you saw that. Maybe you could play the clip.
I'm not sure. I want you to put this on.
You want me to turn camera?
I don't know. I know it's real, but it's, anyway, she got her life back. You can't put that into words. To see someone who felt like they were dying get their life back, and what that means to them.
But I mean, when that was happening, I didn't really know what to do. On the one hand, I thought, this is great for YouTube and social media because he's getting emotional. But on the other hand, I just felt like really, really bad for him. And I said, "Do you want me to turn the camera off?" He said, "No," and then kept and continued. But have you had any like memorable interview moments?
Yeah, actually, I can think of one right now that's really kind of hilarious. I was right in the middle of my first interview with Dr. Greger, and I was asking all kinds of questions, and I was excited and nervous. And I like to drink water and tea when I do my interviews because I don't like my throat.
It's like me now.
Yeah, I don't like my throat to get all dry. And so I was picking up my cup of sage tea, and he stops right in the mid-sentence and says, "What is that? It looks like you're drinking pee." and I told him what it was, and he says, "It looks like urine." So I kind of cracked up. I thought that was hilarious. He has that personality,
that eccentricity.
Yeah,
he's great. He gotta love him. Like I watched some videos from him from about 5-6 years ago, and he was saying the same sound bites over and over again. And it's like people probably look at his work now and think, yeah, that guy's done a little bit of work. But probably what they don't realize is that it's been the result of like 8, 9, 10 years in his basement.
What is it? And just as importantly, can we change it? And the good news is, about time for some good news. And the good news is that yes, we think we know exactly what's going on, and yes, with but a few simple changes, not only will we reclaim all of our natural vegetarian advantages, but we may surpass our highest expectations.
Yeah, and speaking around the world, he's been on it for a long time.
How was it getting an interview of him? Was it difficult to arrange? Because his calendar is like hectic.
It's gotten harder and harder. I've had 2 interviews with him. I've actually met him in person as well. But it's been harder and harder. In the beginning, it was relatively simple. I was a bit persistent at first, and then I got the first interview. And once we did the first interview, he loved it so much. And we can link that also. And I also want to show the audience that clip of where he mentioned that tea looks like pee.
Even if it's the same nutrient, then it looks like you're drinking pee. What is that?
It does, huh? This is sage tea.
Oh, it looks like a urine sample. All right. No,
some people do that around the world,
that is true. But sage tea is better.
Yes.
In so many ways. Anyway.
But the second interview that I did was pretty simple in setting it up because we already had a connection. And then the third time I saw him actually was live in Tel Aviv in Israel. I was living for a while. So he came out there and did a lecture. It was fantastic. He was on point. You've had a moment with him, right? Where
man, it's so funny. You gotta love Gregor. I think he was in London doing his book tour, and arranged an interview of him 3 hours before. So he came to the office where we're going to do the interview. We had all the lights and the cameras set up, and I met him in the foyer downstairs, and I swear to you, man, he looked shattered, man. He looked dead. I said to him, like, you feeling okay? And he said, I just haven't slept for like 2 days. And honestly, I thought like, oh, maybe I'd have to just not do the interview, or it would come out really bad. And then go up in the lift, you know, have some water, turn the lights on, turn the cameras on, start asking him questions. And he just switches, man. He becomes the Gregor, the entertainer, Dr. Gregor, the rock star.
Once I realized that there was this mountain of evidence, buried, hidden, it's there, published in the best journals, but there's no corporate budget. Some new study comes out saying broccoli is good. How are you going to hear about it? No news thing is going to cover it because it's not really news, right? There's no press release. There's no broccoli lobby. You'll never hear about it. It gets buried. What we need is someone just say, look, here's all the science that's been sitting here. You hear about the new drugs, new surgical procedures. They've got big money to promote it, right? Drug industries spend more on promotion than they spend on R&D, than on research.
So let's talk about the other things that they've got in common. You know, they all say all plant foods contain a complete amino acid profile. I think another interesting point is vegan nutrition for children.
Well, let's touch on both of those things, because there's a lot of fear within, you know, if people look at the statement of, and it's still a myth that's going around, that plant proteins are incomplete. And I think the only one they promote as complete protein is soy. You know, soy is the winner once again. But if you
Fun fact, by the way, sorry to interject, but last week there was I think there was some research, a study came out, the results were published, which showed that soy milk has the best nutritional profile out of the most commonly consumed plant milk. So it just echoes what you just said.
Yeah, it totally does. And if you look at any of the world's leading nutrition tracking programs, you know, MyFitnessPal or Chronometer, and you put in any food into these programs, you will see that they all have a complete amino acid profile. You could stick in lemons, you know, into this program, and it'll show you that there's a complete amino acid profile in lemons. And so, you know, plants obviously create amino acids. It may not be obvious to the general public, but they all want to get that message across, that there's no such thing as an incomplete protein, and people shouldn't be afraid of eating plant protein as their primary protein source. And so that's kept, you know, and I'm on my own bodybuilding journey. I've put on 15 pounds in the last 5 or 6 months, and all on plant food and all on plant protein. And so it's been obvious for me, but not so obvious for everybody else. So that's a good point that they make.
Well, just quickly to come in again before you make your other point, it's they all agree, all the plant-based doctors agree that plant protein should be about 10% in terms of the calorie breakdown, right?
Yeah, that's a good point too, because I think that's a good general rule for overall health. I think people in different stages of life and different athletic endeavors need different amounts of protein. You might say that 10% stays 10%, you know, because if I up my calories and it's still 10%, I'm still getting more protein. But there's research that's shown that elderly people over 50 at least, which, you know, most people wouldn't consider elderly. I'm almost 50 myself, but they say that over 50, the body starts to lose muscle mass, which is called sarcopenia, which is age-related muscle loss. And that starts to speed up after a certain age. And it's generally recommended to increase protein intake after those years. Also, elite athletes and bodybuilders tend to have to consume more grams of protein to suit their body's demands for repair and growth. So, you know, you have people tearing their bodies up in the gym, working out for an hour and a half, you know, lifting heavy weights for long periods of time, doing a lot of volume, a lot of cell damage is done, and they need that extra protein. So that 10% is, I think, a good rule for overall general health. But what they also are starting to come out with is that that plant protein doesn't have the same negative effects as animal protein. So if you have 150 grams of animal protein a day, that can be very harmful. If you have 150 grams of plant protein a day, it doesn't have those same harmful effects.
Sure. And I think, you know, T. Colin Campbell has been, you know, banging that message home for a number of decades now.
Yep.
It's funny. Did you see my Dr. Yo interview with my interview with Dr. Yo? I don't know if you saw it. Dr. Yo produced a documentary in the UK called Clean Eating: The Dirty Truth, and in the documentary, he completely misrepresented the plant-based doctor T. Colin Campbell. And by coincidence, I was at a nutrition event in London, and I saw Dr. Yo, the guy who'd completely misrepresented and basically stabbed T. Colin Campbell in the back. And luckily I had my cameras, and Dr. Yo was giving a speech, and at the end of his speech, everybody started clapping, and I thought, wouldn't it be good to go up to him and ask for an interview? And what I'll do, I'll play the audio clip of when after his talk.
Hi, Giles. Hello. Hi, nice to meet you. I've come 2 hours just to speak to you. I really enjoyed your documentary and the work you do.
Oh, no, thank you very much.
Yeah. I just finished a master's in the genetics of human disease from UCL. You could just talk about the genetic basis of obesity for a couple of questions. I don't know if you've got any time now. We've got a camera.
So that clip was before my interview, my camera interview with Dr. Yo, and check the link below if you want to watch the full video. But turns out that it got really heated, and Dr. Yo actually stormed out of the interview. You got to see it, man. It's on my channel. It's like, have you seen What the Health?
Yeah.
You know the bit where the American Heart Association guy walks out of the interview?
Yep.
It was like that. It's great. Couldn't handle it, man. Couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
But I'll link that down below. But yeah, are there any other common points that the plant-based doctors make, or any other?
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about children, and what they basically like to get across to plant-based parents is that you focus a lot more on calories, obviously healthy calories, but you focus a lot more on calories, and fruits and vegetables are additions to a child's diet, but you really want to get them to calorie-dense foods because their bodies are growing quicker than ours are, and they're at stages of development where they need great amounts of blood sugar, not simple sugars, complex carbohydrates, and more simple sugars like fruits and things like that are healthy and helpful. A lot of micronutrients in there, but they really stress the calories for these kids growing.
Right. So we're talking, they recommend, rather than just fruits and veg, we're talking whole grains, potatoes.
Yeah, whole grains,
like
potatoes, sweet potatoes, and beans and lentils and nut butters and nuts and things like that. Obviously you have to watch out for allergies and so forth, but the calorie dense foods, my kids love the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and,
nice.
On whole grain bread, it gives them a lot of calories, and then they snack on fruits and veggies, and we give them little side salads, chopped salads with their meals. But
nice,
our
man.
focus, because I see a lot of plant-based parents erring on the side of micronutrients, and they have their kids munching on fruits and vegetables all day long, and they don't know why their kids aren't necessarily growing as efficiently as they could be.
Mm-hmm. Another common point between the plant-based doctors is that they make the point that a plant-based diet is the only diet ever to be scientifically proven to reverse some disease states. So we're talking heart disease, we're talking diabetes, we're talking early stage prostate cancer.
Right.
No other diet, like the paleo diet, it's been shown to cause weight loss. It's very good at in terms of short-term weight loss, but in terms of actual chronic disease reversal, no other diet has been shown to be as effective as a plant-based diet.
Yeah, and that's why it was such a pleasure to interview Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, because he's kind of one of those vanguards that brought that forward to the public, that it's the only diet that's been shown to reverse, and he's seen it with his own eyes, in his own patients, in his own studies. So, it was nice talking with him. He's such a sweet man, and so knowledgeable. You can when you're talking to him, you just sense his history in this whole thing, and there's no arguing with a man that's in it like he is. And I saw an interview the other day between and it's an older interview, between Dr. Dean Ornish and Atkins with the differences in their diets. And
for people that don't know, Dean Ornish is another huge proponent of a plant-based diet, and he's actually shown that a plant-based diet is really, really good for reversing heart disease. Correct?
Right. So he was in an interview with a debate with Dr. Atkins, and actually, with regards to Dr. Atkins, I think the paleo diet you mentioned a couple minutes ago is kind of a modern day version of the Atkins diet, you know, high meat, high fat,
meat-based.
Meat-based. And I think we could agree that what we've learned from the doctors is that there's no such thing as any kind of healthy meat, you know, and the fact that it has protein in it is not an excuse to eat it on a regular basis. You know, these meats are high, either they have a high quality, what they call high quality protein amino acid profile.
Yeah, but what do they come with? You know, cholesterol, saturated fat, cocktail of hormones. You don't want to be consuming that.
Yeah, antibiotics and toxins and so forth. And even in some of the literature that I read with regards to the fitness industry, which in my opinion is a sister industry to the animal agriculture industry, the animal farming industry, state that although meat has the highest absorption and the highest quality protein in it, it's not necessarily recommended as a regular source of protein because of the things that it contains, the harmful things that it contains in it. And I was in a big supermarket. Anybody that's watching this in the States that knows what Costco is. And I walked into Costco and I saw this huge stack of protein drinks there. And I look on the label, and the label says no artificial growth hormones used to produce. And I look at that and I said, that's just trickery. You know, it's just someone looks at that, that's unknowing, and they walk and they say, oh gosh, there's no artificial growth hormones in here. That's great. My protein powder is hormone free. And that's totally not the case, because, you know, what is milk anyway? It's like we said earlier, it's growth hormone fluid, you know, designed to grow a baby calf into a huge animal in a very short period of time.
Right.
So, you know, even grass-fed meat and all that stuff, organic meat, they still have saturated animal fat. They still have cholesterol, and those things have been known to be causes of
cancer. They're level 2 carcinogens, aren't they? They're not level 1 carcinogens like processed meats, but they're ranked by the biggest health organization in the world as being carcinogenic. So
yes.
And for people that are watching this that aren't plant-based or anything like that, it'd be also good to note that last year, the largest nutrition group, I've forgotten the name of it, but they said that a plant-based diet is suitable for all stages of life. Childhood, it goes back to what you're saying about, you know, children being able to thrive on a plant-based diet.
Yep.
Athletes, middle-aged people, elderly, across the board, it's healthy enough to do.
Well, that's a great point, because I actually have seen the magic that it's done on both ends of the spectrum here, because I have young children. My youngest went plant-based when he was 2, and my older son went plant-based when he was 5. And they've both been plant-based for 4 years. They were sick a lot before they went plant-based. Ear infections, throat infections. They had fevers once every 2 weeks. And once they went plant-based, all that disappeared. It was almost like magic. And then my parents, on the other side of the spectrum, at age 70, when they went plant-based, they went off of medication. Wow. And now they're doing better than ever. It's almost like they got 10 years
younger.
Yeah, 10 years younger within like 6 months.
And you're an athlete, so you and your family are just you're proving so much.
So it's been proven with the kids, it's been proven with my athletic endeavors, it's been proven with my folks who are over 70 now and thriving on a plant-based diet.
It's like Caldwell Esselstyn's, my favorite quote of his is, genetics loads the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger.
You know, that's a good point, because that's another thing they do have in common, that they do say that genetics plays a very small role. It plays a role, but it plays a very small role, and your diet will trigger your bad genetics or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And just coming to the end now, but one other small disagreement I saw was on mainstream media and Fox News a few years ago. They had Dr. Esselstyn on and Dr. Dean Ornish, both people we've spoken about in this interview already. And one of the things they disagreed on was, I think, fish oil. I think Dean Ornish was saying that fish oil was healthy, whereas Dr. Esselstyn was saying, 100% plant-based. So I just want to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, omega-3 fatty acids are a big popular topic to talk about, and they're important as well. And I think Dean Ornish covers his basis when he says that fish oil, because fish oil or the omega-3 fatty acids are so high in fish oil that it basically is an anti-inflammatory, what do you call it?
Substance?
Yeah, supplement.
Supplement, right.
Yeah, and so, I think that covers his bases. Just like Dr. Greger says that, vegans should take a preformed EPA DHA supplement that comes from algae, that's algae based. And so it covers your basis. Now the body has an ability to convert the short chain omega-3 fatty acids to long chain omega-3 fatty acids, which is what we actually need to do to get to EPA and DHA. But there are other sources out there that you can actually do. I think when Dean Ornish makes a claim like that, I think that it makes it easier for people than having to go out and maybe try to find ground flax seeds and try to eat a bunch of walnuts and eat a bunch of seeds and nuts and put those things in their diet. I think it's a way to keep people's omega-3 fatty acids at a good level. But there are other sources out there, even one that's newer to the market called ahi flower oil, which is a great omega-3 fatty acid supplement for people on a plant-based diet.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't think.
Go on.
Yeah, I don't think the fish oil is necessary. But if it's one of those stumbling blocks for people as they're transitioning, then it could be okay, in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. One other thing I just wanted to talk to you about quickly before the end is obviously we've spoken to these doctors and we seem to know the science relatively well and we seem to know what they recommend. And I've been implementing it a lot in my lifestyle, but compliance has been a big issue. I often go to like the processed vegan foods and stuff like that. I just want to know what keeps you on track, what keeps you motivated.
Consistency seems like it's a difficult thing for some people. It's easy to go to the mock meats and the processed vegan foods but I think they're fantastic with regards to transition, because people want to go from something that's comfortable to something that's maybe a little bit less comfortable instead of completely to the other scale, like a whole foods plant-based diet. So I think that it's important that people find things that help them transition. But if what they're really concerned about is overall health, then they should over time have their diet evolve into things that are more whole, plant foods, if the health is really important to them. And one of the things that helps me stay on track is, number one, I'm a father, and number two, I'm a husband, and I'm an athlete. And so health and fitness, I know for sure, they don't go hand in hand. They're stated always in the same sentence, health and fitness, but they don't go hand in hand. Somebody can be fit and totally unhealthy. And that's what was happening with me. I was losing my health. And when
you were still going to the gym, right?
Yeah, I was going to the gym and I was losing my health. My joints were inflamed. I couldn't exercise the way that I wanted to. I had skin issues. I had digestive issues. I had some bloating. I had some constipation. I had some things and allergies that were getting worse every year. So when I hit my 40s, I didn't recognize myself any longer. And when I changed to a plant-based diet, all of those symptoms went away, some within 2 weeks and the rest within like a year. And so the progress was so fast. What I realized was that I had found the answer and the solution to my health issues. And once I did that, that gave me all the motivation. It's tough sometimes because I don't have refined sugars and refined oils because I get all inflamed when I do. So I can't go out and have a vegan donut. I can't go out and have some sugar cereal. I can't, go to restaurants and freely order what I want. So that gets a little bit challenging. But the fact that I have figured out my health issues, especially at age 46, with a family, and small kids to raise, that's more valuable to me than any 5-minute sense pleasure.
Health is wealth. Yeah. You're inspiration to me, man. Thanks for everything you do. And have you got any other interviews with these plant-based doctors lined up? I know me personally, I'm trying to get one of Dr. Garth Davis, but he seems to be so busy. I think probably since What the Health. It's just very, very blocked, hectic calendar.
Yeah, just stay persistent because you guys are doing such incredible work with your channel. It's a big channel. It has a wide influence, and I think that it would be a good match for him to come onto your channel. I've had him on twice. It was before his documentary came out, or the documentary that he appeared in came out. But I want to see if I can get in touch with him again. I'm trying to get in touch right now with Dr. Dean Ornish.
It's huge. He tends to stay away from certainly the vegan community, but also the online plant-based community, which is often riddled with a lot of controversy and drama and stuff.
I can understand that.
Yeah, I can understand that. But I'll
be scheduling another interview with Dr. Greger probably within the next couple of months.
Nice.
I mean, he's a sweet guy, and for some reason, him and his crew, they always seem to have time for me. So they're really good to getting back with me and everything like that. So
that's great.
It's fun talking to him. But it was great talking with you, and I'm honored that you had me on here.
Yeah, no worries. So I don't know where you'll see this on my channel, Guilt Free TV, but either or, if it's on Plant-Based News, which it will be, I'll link Guilt Free TV's Jeff's channel down below. And that's it, man. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. And it's evening here. I'm sure it's earlier where you are in California, but
That's right.
Have a good day.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.